Yeah. So, thoughts. It looks. Greetings, Mythics, and welcome to the very first reaction video to a trailer. Now, my name is Ken Boyta, and I am the Inkpot Monkey. You might know me from the Bottled Imp YouTube channel. You might not. You might have seen my videos. You might not. And I created that channel with the wonderful filmmaker and photographer and all-round creative genius Julian Newman-Turner. And this is the Mythical Tales from Edra YouTube channel. Now, I don't quite know what this channel is going to be, but I do like fantasy, so it's definitely going to have a fantasy theme running all the way through everything that I do. Now, it has been brought to my attention that the Wheel of Time, which is an epic high fantasy series written by Robert Jordan, series of books, 14 books in total, that have sold over 90 million copies. So of course television is going to be interested, especially these days. We had Game of Thrones, which was hugely popular, and that series hadn't even finished. The books still aren't finished. That whole book series isn't finished yet. So that's one thing that the Wheel of Time has definitely got going for it. The actual series is completely finished. Now, unfortunately, Robert Jordan, who his real name is actually James Olivia Rigney Jr., he died before he actually finished the series. It was originally meant to be 6 novels, but then it spanned over the years. The first one was published in 1990, and I have the book here. And as you can see, it's not very well thumbed. There's no crack down the spine. That is because I haven't read it. But it has been on my long shelf that has lots of books, my to-be-read list. Like, I'm sure if you're a reader, especially fancy, you have big thick books that you think, yeah, I'll get into that, I will read that. Now, I do book reviews for the Bottled Imp YouTube channel, and this was on my list to review, but I haven't yet got round to it. So I'm very curious, now that they're making a TV show, why they would want to make the TV show. Now, I stated earlier it sold 90 million copies, so maybe that's just reason enough. But you'd like to think that whenever anybody makes a TV show and adapts something, that there's love, care, and they are actually passionate about the source material. So many times over the last, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, people have been adapting things, and you just kind of feel, well, did you really care about those characters? Because you've changed it so much that it's just all past recognition. So I'm very curious to see what they do. And also, this doesn't often happen, but I'm coming into this knowing really nothing about the Wheel of Time. The only things I do know is that book 1 is called The Eye of the World. That's pretty much all I do know. And there are 14 books in the series, plus there's 2 prequels, and apparently there's 2 companion books as well. So, oh, and also that fantasy author Brandon Sanderson, there you go, I knew I'd get it right, or wrong, depending. He actually did finish the final book, but it was a big chunky book, so they actually split it into 3 volumes, if you like, so they released it in 3 parts. So that is pretty much all I know, and so I was curious to think, well, what's it like if you haven't read a book series, so you're not connected to the characters, you're not connected to the actual story. So I'm coming in watching the TV series completely blind, completely fresh to it. So I won't have that sort of innate bias where you think, oh no, they've changed that bit and they've changed that character and they've ruined that character and they've changed this. I won't have any of that, because I haven't read them. I don't know who the characters are. I've not even read the blurb on the back. I really don't know anything about it. And I do like to go into projects, not really projects, creative writing, you know, books, novels, films, television, without really knowing too much, because I want to let that piece of creativity shine over me, and that's a rubbish way of putting it, but just immerse in that moment. You know, it's like, I don't need to know anything about an author to enjoy the novel. I don't need to know anything about the filmmakers to enjoy that bit of work. So it's, you know, that film or that television series. So I'm really coming into completely blind to this, and I thought it'd be good to document that, because it'd be interesting to see. It's like, well, do you need to read the novels before you enjoy the TV show, or does it ruin it if you've read the novels and then somebody adapts that? You know, you might love it. There are things like, I absolutely adore Blade Runner, the novel. You know, do androids dream of electric sheep? The answer, we're still not sure. Philip K. Dick, one of my favourite authors, sci-fi author obviously, and I had read the novel, and then, no, I saw the film and loved the film. So I was actually very fortunate. I am old enough to remember when it first came out. Not when it first came out of the cinema, I didn't see it then, but I did see a re-showing of it in America. I happened to be in America. And it was the director's cut. They took off that annoying voiceover, you know, and he actually, you know, I think it's a better version. And I saw that in the cinema. I was lucky enough to see that in the cinema. So it blew me away, that. And I went, right, I've got to read everything that, you know, Philip K. Dick has done. It's brilliant. And I read the novel. I went out literally the next day and read the novel. And I loved it. And what surprised me was the novel... Well, sorry, the film was as good as the novel, because normally people go, oh, the film's not, no, it's not as good as the novel. But this was. But they're not exactly the same story. The film does deviate. It's not the same story whatsoever. There's elements that run through it, you know, the concept of it, and a few elements that run through it, but the novel is different, but equally as good. So it's like, they've managed to capture the essence of what the author was trying to do, you know, and they've been true to the characters and true to bits of the story, but they actually have created another version of the same book, if you like, but they've done it just as well. So it would be interesting to actually do the same. So I might watch the television series. So there's, apparently they've got 2 series already commissioned, so they've made, you know, they've just basically doing post-production on the first series, because it's coming out, I think, on the 19th of November on Amazon Prime, and they've already commissioned the second series, so I don't know whether they've started shooting or not. So they're investing in this. I think they obviously do want it to be like the big next Game of Thrones. So it'd be interesting to see, right, should I actually watch the television series first, then read the books, or should I do what I did with Game of Thrones? Was Game of Thrones, before it got massive, the TV series, I happened to watch the first series because I was in a short film that was very much Game of Thrones-esque, and the director said to me, have you, you know, because we started chatting about fantasy, and he said to me, have you heard of Game of Thrones? And I went, well, no, isn't it sort of? And I kind of had heard about the books but hadn't read them. And he said, oh yeah, there's a TV show, HBO. Now I don't get HBO. So I bought the DVD just on his recommendation and absolutely loved it. I binge watched it, as you can imagine, and loved it and thought, this is amazing. So then, in between watching series 1 and series 2, I read all of the 5 books. Now they are big chunky books, so it obviously took me a bit of time, but I thought, no, the books are amazing. The books are fantastic. So I don't know. The books have sold 90 million copies, so they've got to be doing something right. They have to be good books in order to sell those many copies. You don't sell that many copies by accident. No clever marketing is going to sell you that many copies. Certainly not over a long, prolonged, 20-odd years. 21 years, is it? 1990 they were published. The first one was published. That's got to be proper good writing, good characterization and good stories. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm looking for good characterization, good stories, first and foremost. World building second, magical systems third, dragons and monsters fourth, that kind of thing. It's not a strict list, I change my mind all the time, but characterization and stories, that they have to be there. If you haven't got good characters, likable characters that you actually care about, then you're not going to be invested in the story. It is as simple as that. Don't put style over substance, and don't put action over characterization, because those to me are the big mistakes that sometimes filmmakers make, and I guess also authors make as well. So what we thought I'd do is I'm going to watch the trailer and then give my thoughts on it. I have seen it once, and I wasn't overly impressed. It didn't knock me away, but equally I was like, it looks intriguing. So I wanted to delve back and look again. So I've not seen it since, so we're going to just watch it now. Bear with me while I spark up the old machine. Right then. So let's see if I can. This is the first time I've done this before, so bear with me. There might be some technical problems. Let's find out. Here we go. A bit nervous now. I really want this to work. I really want this to be, you know, as good as Game of Thrones. Let's not talk about the last series of Game of Thrones because they dropped the ball on that one, didn't they? But yes, oh, by the way, if you do want to see any of my reviews, so if you're thinking, who's this crazy nutter talking about something? Who is this guy? Check out the Bottled Imp YouTube channel. We've got over 400 episodes. We've been going since 2015. Mainly reviews on there, but there are other stuff as well. It's all fantasy focused. And like we did Cooking with Ken, that was one of the latest episodes, where I basically took Skyrim recipes from the video game Skyrim and made a cake, one of the sweet rolls from Skyrim. That was a bit of fun. But we've got over 400 videos there. The main bulk of them are reviews, book reviews, board game reviews and film reviews, but all fantasy based. So let's click on the trailer. I really want good fantasy.
Be strong. The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend.
Okay, I'm just going to stop it there so that we just sort of... Okay, so it's for me, it's evoking Lord of the Rings. And why wouldn't you? Lord of the Rings film series, well, the books obviously hugely successful. The films were massively successful as well, weren't they? So why wouldn't you want to evoke that? So I can understand why that is kind of reminiscent. Plus, they are of the same type of fantasy. They're both high fantasy, so it's good versus evil. It's big, broad concepts. It's you know, you've got presumably, I'd say again, I don't know much about this, but you've got, say, gods. You've got, you know, forces that are bigger than, you know, your average person. You've got the balance between, you know, everyday goings on and people's lives versus the bigger picture of, oh, hang on, there's a massive threat that's looming. How can we all band together and prevent that? So already it feels like it's gearing up for that kind of big epic journey.
The power inside you. All over the world there are different names for it. But it's one thing. One power. And women who can touch it. We protect the world.
Okay, so that's cool. So they've got here, so they're specifically saying women have got this power and they protect the world. And I guess that ties in with maybe a more stereotyped version of men and women, where women are meant to be more caring and obviously protecting, especially of their children. You know, but you see, I never really buy into men being one thing and women being one thing. We are all people and we're all made up of the same sort of emotions and the same things, if you see what I mean. So but it's an interesting take, obviously. So yeah, so far so good. Let's find out. Let's carry on. This November, in a world,
No matter what happens,
no matter what happens next,
one angry face, a heartbreak, the wheel keeps turning.
I don't know if that was a false beard or not. There was a guy there that went, the wheel keeps turning. He looked a little bit like a fake beard.
The Dark One is coming for your friends.
The Dark One is coming for your friends. So again, Lord of the Rings kind of influence Sauron, you know, the or Salaman. I get those two confused. The ones that, you know, the dark shadow that's just wanting to come back.
The last battle is coming. The only thing that matters is what you do. Whatever happens now, there's no turning back.
The Wheel of Time, November the 19th. Prime Video on Amazon Prime. Yeah, so thoughts. It looks very expensive. It looks like obviously they've put a lot of money into it. The special effects look amazing. I do have a beef, and I don't know why, but medieval high fantasy or anything that's medieval, even if you're doing a straight period piece, dirty the clothes up, put mud on people's faces. They weren't, you know, it all looks too clean. Yeah, I know Lord of the Rings is a little bit like that as well, but for some reason it was a little bit more tatty though. They did kind of pay attention to that. One best depiction I've ever seen of on film of medieval times is actually Monty Python.
Bring out your dead!
And the Holy Grail, because when and also Jabberwocky. If you've never seen Jabberwocky is a great film. Michael Palin, Terry Gilliam. They actually muddy people up and they dirty the clothes. So when you've got peasants, you know, in the street, and they're all just peasants, you know, common people walking around, you know, they are dirty, and that kind of is how it would have been, I think. And they actually black up the teeth, because the teeth wouldn't have been like this, although mine aren't brilliant, but you know, they wouldn't have been clean as well as ours. So that to me always throws me out a little bit. So there was that kind of thing. Lord of the Rings, I do remember watching a lot of how they made Lord of the Rings videos, and they did say we want to make history. And so they obviously they handmade all the costumes, but all the chainmail they did it authentically how the medieval people would have done it. You know, every single one of those chainmails that you see is handmade, and they did dirty the clothes up. It didn't look, you know, and also Game of Thrones as well. I give them credit there. It did look dirty. There were, you know, it was texturally like that, visually like that, and just little details like that can sort of take me out of the immersive you know, experience of it. But as I say, it's sort of, I am excited about it, but equally it's like, okay, there's nothing in that trailer that really goes, oh wow, that's really gonna get me going. So it's sort of like, okay, it looks like it's good. It looks like it's going to be good. You know, but again, because I'm not invested, if you are a Wheel of Time fan and you're like, that's what, you know, it's your favorite book series, then I don't know, you know, how you're feeling about that trailer. Do you think, oh no, they've changed that, they've changed, you know, you're already spotting things where like, is that so and so, is that character that looks totally different? Let me know in the comments, because it'd be interesting to know if you are a fan of it. Are you excited by the trailer? Are you excited by a TV series of one of your favourite books? Again, like Game of Thrones, I hadn't read the book, so again, I was coming in blind, and you know, it was great because it was like, oh, this is fantastic. Then I could see, as the series went on, where they started to depart from the novels. They did a very wise thing, though. They followed the novels very closely, and it worked. Because George R.R. Martin is a very good writer. He's a top-notch writer, and he knows how to weave stories. He knows how to do character development and character arcs and story arcs. But then, when Game of Thrones went a bit wrong, well, a lot wrong, was when they didn't have the source material. So they do have that. They have that advantage where they actually have all the books finished. So they know the beginning and the end. So they know how to get there. Everything's in place. So if they're wise, this is just my thoughts, stick to the source material. You can't really go too wrong if you've sold 90 million copies. Stick to the source material. So let me know what you think. It would be interesting to see if you're excited by it, if you're nervous by it, if you're a bit of both, because I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, the trailer was fine. It was, you know, it's kind of what you expect. Nothing, no shocks there. But it, you know, it's good that you can tell that they've spent time and care and love. It does look like people have, on it that are actually, they've put their love and passion into the project as well. So thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe if you've not done so already, and click on the little bell apparently to get notifications when I put out more videos. And remember, may the magic of stories flow through you always.